Thank you so much for coming. I see we've got in the house, we've got Richard Lake, hubby. Thank you so much for turning on your phone. Kaylee, nice to see you. Glad you're here. Alfonso Cemental. I hope that I am saying your last name right, Alfonso. I know you're a new friend. I met you yesterday, and I'm grateful. I think I love the mandolin you were playing, and I love the back of it. I really did. It reminded me of an acorn. Acorn came to my mind. So welcome. Going to give some time for some more people to come in, and just grateful that we're going to be talking today about something that I have to quit grabbing myself, hitting my microphone, because that's not good. Always makes me cry. I know. And the reason that I played that today is because of what we're going to be talking about. So that's Crystal LaGreen. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. I'm hoping that we learn some things. I learned some things. I thought I knew it all. It's a bad habit to have, let me tell you. I've learned some tough lessons through that personality character flaw. It's a Neapolitan bowl back tater bug mandolin from Italy. It's over 100 years. I could tell that was old. If somebody wants to find Alfonso's channel and drop that for me, I would deeply appreciate it. Got some cool stuff there. Catherine Cook. Woo! Catherine Cook. Thank you. Thank you. And please tell your hubby hello for us. Homer and Catherine are friends from Arizona, from our one and only trip we've been able to make to Quartzsite, Arizona, to travel during winter a bit. But we do plan on doing that again. As a matter of fact, with some luck, we'll have our RV back at our house within the next 30 days and doing some things. We want to get finished up on it so that we can go to Southern Oregon in June for a meetup with a bunch of people that I have been craving to meet. So let me just, I don't know if you had a chance to answer the question on, I can't see it. I'm going to flip over to the YouTube. Oh, boy. To answer the question, 88% say yes, 12% say no, which is fine. The answer matters, but it doesn't matter. And I never know who answers how. And I just found this option of doing a poll at the beginning of a live stream. So I'm excited to have that and start learning some things about the people that I'm chatting with on here. Let me get back over to my StreamYard. All righty. So why am I even wanting to talk about this stuff? Well, I think there is a group of people in this country who are confused, or maybe like me didn't understand certain things about how our foundation came to be. And I started questioning, why does it seem like when I'm talking to people, adult people who have been through years of school from primary 12 through college, still don't get certain things? And it confused me. And I had conversations with people, and I watched conversations with people, and I'm like, maybe I better do some investigating. I can't really complain if I'm not more informed about something. And so that's what started my little trip down this lane. So I know I see 11 people who are watching, and I've got not sure how many people in the house, but just a handful. So I hope you'll join us. And if you don't mind liking and sharing this out, I would appreciate it, because I believe it's that important. So I'm going to share the screen with something here right now. Let me see if it's a video file or no. I always get confused about this one thing when I'm sharing it. First thing I'm going to talk about, because we're talking about sensitive stuff, I'm going to play a little clip, and I may not play the whole thing, but this is, before we start talking, there's a question. Why do we even know what civil discourse is? And why does it matter in this conversation? Meaning, when we talk about the foundation of our country. For me, the reason I needed to learn about civil discourse is because I'm a very strong-willed person who has beliefs that I believe are right beliefs. And, by golly, I'm going to make everybody else believe that. Well, that is not what that's exactly the opposite of civil discourse, telling you what to believe, telling you how it should be, telling you why you're wrong. My idea is, let's look at the facts of what these things are and then kind of have conversations about them. And maybe people will still leave with the same idea they came into the room with, and maybe we'll leave with some different ideas. And in the meantime, we'll talk about them with respect to one another. For me, I really demand that. So the one demand I have is that we do not call names. We do not put other people's beliefs or ideas down, because you'll be banned. You'll be cut out. I don't have time for that. I really don't. I have a small group. It doesn't matter. I still don't have time to deal with that, nor do I want to. So if you start disrespecting other people by calling them names or putting down their ideas, you're gone. And people know how to take care of that. All right. Other than that, there are no rules. This is to talk about and generate. So let's listen to this man. And this is from the Constitutional Center. I'm using very good resources for my information. So I'm going to be quiet and let him talk for a moment.
Why is it important to have civil dialogues? Why is it important to listen to perspectives that you may not agree with in advance? Well, according to the founders of the Constitution, all of American democracy depends on your mastering this skill, because having civil conversations is central to the discovery and spread of political truth, and also to the rights and responsibilities of self-government. And the whole theory of American government is contained in one of the most inspiring Supreme Court opinions in history. It's called Whitney versus California. And it was written in 1927 by a great Supreme Court justice called Louis Brandeis. And I'm going to recite this inspiring paragraph for you, and then let's think together about how it really expresses the core of the American idea. Here we go. Here's Louis Brandeis in Whitney versus California. Those who won our independence believed that the final end of the state was to make men free to develop their faculties, and that in its government, the deliberative forces should prevail over the arbitrary. They valued liberty both as an end and as a means. They believed liberty to be the secret of happiness and courage to be the secret of liberty. They believed that freedom to think as you will and to speak as you think are means indispensable to the discovery and spread of political truth. That without free speech and assembly, discussion would be futile. That with them, discussion affords ordinarily adequate protection against the dissemination of noxious doctrine. That the greatest threat to freedom is an inert people. That public discussion is a political duty, and that this should be a fundamental principle of the American government. Wow, they're such inspiring words every time I recite them. I'm struck by how true they are, and let's unpack what Brandeis is saying. They believe that liberty was the secret of happiness and courage was the secret of liberty. That's a quotation from Pericles' funeral oration. So Brandeis is channeling the ancient political philosophy of Plato and Aristotle. And he's also been reading Jefferson over the summer of 1927. And those words, they believe that freedom to think as you will and to speak as you think, Brandeis got, I believe, although he didn't attribute them, to a letter from Thomas Jefferson in 1820, where Jefferson used the same words. And Jefferson got those words, again, without attributing them. I just figured this out by finding the primary source from a series of Whig pamphlets called Cato's Letters, which the founders quoted a lot. It's only through the process of political discussion that the truth emerges. And the best response to evil counsels is good ones, Brandeis says. And generally, truth is supposed to emerge from the marketplace of ideas. But that government can be responsive to the will of we the people is if we are completely free to express our perspectives. And that means all perspectives. That means perspectives that you may agree with and those that you don't agree with. And it's only by allowing all of those clashing and diverse perspectives into the public square that government can reflect the will of the people, which only emerges through this process of deliberation and debate. So now you see what we're doing here together is crucially important. We're learning how to be engaged citizens exercising the duty of public discussion. It's not just a right that you have, the government can't tell you what to think, but it's also a duty that you have to express your opinions thoughtfully and deliberately after listening to other points of view.
All right. So I know that might have seemed a little tedious, but it feels like a place to start so that someone who understood this is able to explain it in a not just a succinct way, but a broader way to explain what is it, how it came to be, and what's the importance of civil discourse. So for me, that was the very first place to start. All right. So I hope everybody is following along. I know that we've went down from 9 to 8. That's okay.
That was so rough to listen to.
I don't expect this to be the most popular game on the block, but I think it's an important one. Let's start with a couple pieces of information. So I wanted to know, do you know, okay, raise your hand. Just type yes, a Y or an N. Do you know the order? Did you know there are 3 founding documents, 3 primary documents that are considered our founding documents? Let me know if you do or don't. I'm very curious. I'm asking a question here. I need to. And did you, we need to share. Okay. So collectively, they are actually called the Charters of Freedom. Did not know that. At the U.S. Constitution site in for the United States, they are called the Charters of Freedom. And I didn't know that. It would have been nice to know. I'm 61 years old and I had no clue. We need to share a channel so others will come. I agree. So Kaylee knew the answer to that. Good to know. I didn't, Alfonso either. So that's important. That's very important. All right. So let's move on. I am going to, so let's start. I wanted to start literally with Oh, you thought I was in my 30s? Well, you are a very kind man, Alfonso. Talk to my husband and let him know that. No, I am 61. 61 years young. All right. So the very first of the three documents are the Constitution, which we all kind of know something about that, Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. Now, of the three documents, tell me which one you think came first. The DI, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights? I'm just curious where we all stand. I had no clue. My assumption was the Constitution came first, and I was wrong. Just to let you know, the Declaration of Independence, yes, Kaylee. Oh, that's right. You were a paralegal, sweetheart. Yes, ma'am. So, oh, hello, Priscilla. There is another sister. So I've got two sisters in the house. I've got Olita Himmerly. She is one of our sisters, one of my sisters. And then Priscilla Hughes, who is my other sister. All right. So I'm just going to bring up the Declaration of Independence, just to take a quick look at it. Just some information, just some quick information. So the Declaration of Independence, which is our first founding document, well, there's things before this, as we all know. We originally had a constitution called the Articles of Confederation. However, they were not ratified. There was not enough support to ratify it. Then everything kind of moved into the Constitution as we know it today. But the first thing was a Declaration of Independence, and that was in 1776, July 4th, 1776. And the unanimous declaration of the 13 of the United States of America. What it says: when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation. And then it goes on to say what we all know. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable, I used to think that was inalienable, but it's unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So here we're going to stop for a minute. This is one of the places where we need to stop. And I'm going to blow this up. That's making it a bit smaller. Oh, dang it. All right. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So let's talk for just a minute. I'm going to just shorten this up to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All right, so hence Independence Day, yes. Our father's birthday was on the 4th of July, 4/4/25. 4/7/25.
Even though that's not when the Declaration of Independence was really signed.
No, it was ratified on a different date. The ratification was on a different date, but we celebrate it and have forever on the 4th of July. So one of the issues here is we hold these truths to be self-evident. We talk about the separation clause of the one's ability to have power, you know, this God, this creator, as is talked about here. Boondocking with Boomer. Hello to you, Lance. Thank you for coming. And we've got, that's our Canadian friend, and who's down here for a while. And Mr. Timmy Ray the King, thank you so much for stopping in. And we're talking right now about the Declaration of Independence, because that's our first founding document. That is actually one of our legal founding documents. FSTR, okay, new to me. Field Tax Self-Reliance. Hello, hello, and thank you for coming. So, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, sometimes I'm going to step on toes, and then I'm going to step on someone else's toes. All right. And it's not meant as a judgmental stepping. It's that this is a place to be a conversation of respect and equal respect. All right. So I respect you, you respect me, and we respect each other. So I'm one of those absolutists as well. And I've had the luck. I went to school, I went to college as a grown adult at 50 years old, and I happened into a graduate school program that allowed me also to look at other things. And I got to take an initial constitutional law class, and I fell in love with the Constitution. All right. So I know there's lots of people who are not in love with it anymore. That's a different conversation. But right now, I just kind of want to focus right here. And if you don't mind sharing us out, liking, subscribing, if you're not a subscriber, a friend of the channel, which we reciprocate that, I'd appreciate it. If you could share me out to your group of people, I would so appreciate that. All right. So the pursuit of happiness. So does my happiness mean I get to destroy your happiness? And does your happiness mean you get to destroy my happiness? I don't really read it that way. Let's see. Our Independence Day is about our soldiers. No, actually, it's not Timmy Ray the King, Mr. Timmy Ray the King. Independence Day is not about the soldiers. It's exactly about what it says. Our independence. And by the way, who is our independence from? Anybody want to zip that into the chat?
England.
England. What are they not in love with is how individuals interpret the Constitution. Yes, that's true. That's true. And there are interpretations, and that's why we have a Supreme Court. And I was looking at this, and there are generally 7 ways it's interpreted, but we're right now not going to talk about that because we don't have all day. Life of Lucretia, you can make me a moderator so I can share links, please. Well, I don't know you yet, and I have some moderators. If you wanted to, Kaylee, if you would like to check out Mr. FSTR, U.S. Group Field Tech and Self-Reliance, and see who that is, and just make sure it's a legit channel. And I'm not trying to be rude, but you do know obviously that there are people who come in to chats, especially ones that might be a little bit conflictual potentially, and I don't roll like that. I have to know the people who are my moderators. All right, but please share information.
Did you see the
Okay, I see. All right, so you probably don't know how to do it, Alex. I will do it.
I know how to do it.
Okay, you want to make him a moderator for me? He's a very good moderator.
Oh, you have to do it from your account.
Okay. Let me run over here to YouTube so I can take care of that. I'm going to be making Alex an equal and Kaylee an equal moderators to me, so that you can all right, there you go. I appreciate your help. All right, so back over to StreamYard. All right, so that's one of the things that we all have to always decide, where do my rights stop and yours begin? And how about rights as a nation? Is there such thing as rights that everybody, so we have rights no matter what? Those are just there. Question. Always let me know when there's a question. Just one question. Do you think any of your constitutions should be changed or removed? Well, so that's what we have. So we have a Bill of Rights. So the Constitution, there are people who believe that it is a living document and that it kind of flows and that you can shift it as times change. And that's a question that would be, in my opinion, should be put to the nation. But I personally don't believe that. I believe that we have there's a reason that we have a Bill of Rights and that we have amendments. We have amendments to the Constitution.
And I think that it would be, you know what? Oh, come on. Okay, everyone. Hello. I'm Alex, Lucretia's son, and I'm one of the moderators here and also a commentator. So, to answer your question, I would say that we need a new constitution, personally, that we take pieces from the old constitution and make a new one. There's a almost cult around this constitution, and that's a problem, unfortunately. In my opinion, it's something that's hindering our country and that we need to evolve it into something better that's more modern, that applies to us today. That's my opinion.
Okay. So he's kind of going to be the devil's advocate, I think, for most of us. And that's okay. So in answer to Lance's question here, just one question, just one. Do you think that any of your constitution should be changed or removed? I don't. Personally, at this point, I don't. But when we go through the Constitution, and we're doing the Bill of Rights today. And that should have been, was reflected. There was a different thumbnail. I don't know if anybody saw it that I did. And then my loyal assistant over here decided he changed it. I mean, he didn't understand. He was just looking at colors. All right. So Kaylee, she believes it's a living document. She's going to explain that down here. By living document, I mean that it can be mended. Yes, ma'am. And grown with the needs of the people it represents. Absolutely. I agree with that. Just published a couple of articles on this channel community page I wrote years ago for an old magazine publication back in the late 90s. Thank you. I'll be anxious to read those. The first 10 minutes are absolute. They are the foundation of what this country is founded on and the bedrock of our constitutional republic. And you know what I found out what I found out in my constitutional law class at the University of Oregon was that, hello, Badass Stang. Badass 93 Stang. Yes, welcome. And thank you for coming. You're one of my newer friends, and I'm so happy that you came to my live stream today. So I found out that our Constitution, the Constitution of the United States of America, is about the government's responsibility or commitment to us as a whole. And then I found out, lo and behold, the Bill of Rights is my protection from the government of the United States of America. There's reasons for that. Okay. Now, we can argue, people argue about, well, I think that this reason right now indicates that we should be able to take up arms against our government. And these people over here are saying, what are you talking about? It's perfect. It's doing everything we need. Leave it alone. And then there's some people in the middle going, I think there's some questions. And so, all right, Kaylee, that's what the amendments are about, growth, accommodation. If there weren't amendments, slavery would be flourishing and only white men would have the right to vote. So do you want to, so consider this, Kaylee. I've had many a conversation with someone who believes that the multinational corporations of this country are a slavery in and of themselves. That the government promoting people to work, for instance, I'm going to try to say this in what I believe is his intent. I should have the person here, and I'm going to have him. It's my son-in-law. He has some extreme thoughts, but I don't necessarily disagree with him. But that working a 40 to 60 hour week, no matter what your pay is, okay, that having the biggest and the best house, having, $60,000, $100,000 worth of vehicles sitting in your driveway, a mortgage that you will pay on until you are old enough that you probably can't go on a vacation without an assistant to help you stay alive, because you're indebted forever. That is in of itself a form of slavery.
That's called
Capitalism. All right. I'm a capitalist. I mean, I believe in capitalism, but I do believe capitalism has gone crazy. So how we connect this in here is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So what does that mean? It's very individual, I would say. That not everybody believes in that way of life. Olita Himmerly, why change what we have now? I think I heard him say that he wants to update and bring it to a modern model of constitutional representation. I think that's what you heard him say. Yes, you did. Absolutely glad you're here. If somebody would grab his link and drop it, please, I'd appreciate it. He does have some interesting stuff on his channel. And also for FSTRUS group, please drop his link. This is somebody, one of the things about him that I respect so much is that his ability is all of the stuff about living out, like preparedness, being prepared. So he showed a video of what he considers to be the most important tools to have on hand. And it's brilliant stuff. It's important stuff. So drop his link, please. What it says about the Independence Day, July 3rd, 2018. Independence Day is an opportunity when the Army can reflect and thank soldiers, civilians, and families of the total Army for their service. Well, of course. And you know what? My father was in the Navy. I have many, many relatives who have served. That's one of the reasons yes, you can absolutely do that, because obviously it was the fighting that released us from the grips of from England. So the soldiers matter. Soldiers matter. All right. Himmerly. My son would concur with that thought. Charlie Grace. Hello, Charlie Grace. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And this is one of the wise women, by the way, and I mean that sincerely from my heart. Charlie Grace is one of the wise women on YouTube, and she has a wonderful channel, fun channel. I met her because she was a dog person. She's a dog person. And anybody who's a dog person, in my opinion, is a good person to start with. And so please drop her link and let everybody know who she is. FSTR.
Anybody who likes a dog is a good person.
Okay, most people who like concrete.
Charlie Manson kind of liked dogs too.
I don't know if Charlie Manson liked dogs. Charlie Grace likes dogs. So that's what matters to me. The Bill of Rights is exactly the reason why Biden cannot get a gun control passed, because it protects the guarantees our unalienable birthrights.
I don't know who Biden is. But...
So President Biden, whether I like, policy or not, Presidential Biden, it's correct. That is true. So here in Oregon, one of my pursuits of happiness is I like shooting for fun. Okay. I found that I do like that. And Oregon, as many people know, is the poster child for what I believe to be far left policy. One of those is, really trying to change the gun rights in this state. And I voted against it. And by the way,
I voted for it.
Yes, my son voted for it. I voted against it. And by the way, I said, let's not get all hysterical about this because I believed it to be unconstitutional and somebody was going to take it to that level. And so what happened is in Southern Oregon, a judge, there's a stay on this, and it's going to work its way through, and then it will end up in the federal courts. So, and I believe it will be struck down. I'm not to say that I don't think there aren't realistic protection that we need to do, like securing your weapon so children can't get a hold of it, to the best of our ability to secure it so that criminal breaks into my house, they can't just steal my self-protection. Which, by the way, I've got a new one I'm picking up today, and so on and so forth. I do think there is some rational stuff. I don't believe. Okay, sit down. I don't believe a gun kills people. People holding the gun kill people. Now I know that's a bizarre statement, and
Without the gun, they couldn't kill people.
They pick up a knife. They get some other weapon. Yes, it happens. All right. So I'm just saying that it's the person, the brain, and the hand that do it. They do use that weapon. Okay. So I'm not saying it doesn't kill people. Please, no, God, don't take this stream down. I'm simply saying that it's the person holding it that does that. It can't get up on its own, walk to a window or to a door or to a classroom and do that on its own volition. It takes an insane person behind it, an ill person, a criminal person behind it to do it. And I think rational people understand that. So that's where I have problems with many of the stuff going on about guns. But again, we can have a reasonable conversation. And I respect that somebody else, I know many people, good people, that don't believe that to be exactly as I stated it. Okay, let's see. Why is Priscilla Hughes going to leave? Okay, yes, that's what I mean. So I don't like the policy of the current administration. I didn't like all the policies of the last one. The last president I absolutely adored was President George Bush, right? That's my president for all time and forever. But I'm talking publicly about the current president of the country I live in. Whether I like him or not, I still respect the office of that person that he's sitting in right now. So please, let's not create a dynamic where people feel threatened and need to leave in either direction. All right, let's go down here. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, I love her red hair. My little sister Priscilla Hughes also has red hair. I hope Trump will return. And guess what? It may happen. I don't know. I'm a conservative and I hope not. You and I could have discussion about that all day long. I don't think it's a good idea to put a lightning rod at the top of the White House and have them holding it. And that's exactly what that person would be as a president again. And we don't have time for that, by the way. We're involved in a war at one level or another. We're involved in a large war right now, whether we want to admit it or not. And so, yeah, we can't have games being played forever in the darn White House. Okay, I'm going to move on a little bit here and talk about the rest of this document. I just got to find it again. Okay, back at the Declaration of Independence. Okay, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, the end meaning the rights of the people, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, which in my belief is one of those ways is by voting. Okay, vote for the people, get involved in that, laying its foundation on. Yes.
Right here, it's saying that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. So for all those people who say, oh, you can't change the Constitution or you can't abolish it and create a new one, literally the founding fathers said, you have the right to.
Mm-hmm. So here in this document, what does that mean to you? So Alex brings up a good point. That whenever, okay, so we're talking about the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness again. All right. Remember, that's what this end is. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Wow. So that's interesting right there. I have to say, I will agree with Alex that is an interesting thought. And I think that's something that would be wise to take a moment to talk about. I want to look at the comments right here. Umbrella, FSTR group is the umbrella under which resides the channels. Are you prepared nation? Are you prepared nation? Right. Fight off the ex-official at Patriots Nation USS. And okay. All right. Thank you for that. Because that's a lot in my mouth, and for me, Rich Poor Alex, LOL. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm hoping she didn't leave. Yes, sliding, name calling. I agree, Priscilla. Conversations about respect. And that's what I talked about in the very beginning about the well, we had about civil discourse and why it actually is a part of this. I'm scrolling down because I kind of lost my space here. All right, Charlie Grace. The Constitution is a great framework. However, times have changed, and that is why we have amendments. Very succinct. There you go. See, that's why I'm glad you're here, Charlie Grace. All right, badass Priscilla. Okay. All right, we've already been through that. Boondocking with Boomer. All right, I'm just catching up here, so sorry. I have no desire to be conflictual, and I do not have the temperament for that crap. Okay, I agree. I understand. I need to leave first. I say something about the way, okay, y'all have a good and blessed day. All right. So I'm so sorry. Like I said, I may step on people's toes at times, and everybody, each other may step, but let's do it respectfully. That's all I can ask for. All right. Too many feelings that get in the way of conversation. So, feelings are, yes. Priscilla Hughes, I think Lucretia is trying to bring good conversation about the Constitution. Let's ignore anyone who's, all right. So.
That's so far behind in comments.
Is it so far? The special feelings. Like it or not, even or not, Trump is the only president that can save us from what is transpiring in the world. That is why they are trying to keep him from being. So that's an idea. I mean, there's many people who believe that. I don't know that that's true or not true. All I know is my personal belief is I'm not comfortable with him, and I'm just not. But
I am glad that FTSR said that because it touches on his no conspiracy theories. You know,
I think it's going to, I think that will come down to two conservative runners, two Republican runners, I believe will be in the end of this in a couple years. Believe me, things will be different when he gets elected 24. First, I 100% disagree. All right. That's laughable. Now, remember, we always have to be respectful. If I want to be respected, I have to respect someone else. Trump has a long way to go. That's true. A long way to go. That's an opinion, not a fact. We need to not go off on the, okay, very good. I agree. Yes, a 2/3 majority. It takes 2/3 majority. And we'll talk about something at the end of today that's happening here in Oregon locally. All right. All right. Let me. Yeah. I'm definitely not here to push either agenda, either side's agenda. If I've said this a million times, if I could vote in Oregon as an independent, I would, and I can't. We need to unify as a country and stop the politics that are divisive. That's right. And that's one of, when I read about the idea of civil discourse, and that is part of teaching about the Constitution, because I'm looking at, I'm some of the information I'm getting directly from a constitutional course. Priscilla Hughes, please explain to me, what did I say about Trump that is BS? Our country was 180% for what it is currently. And, you know, there are people that believe that 180% or 180-degree difference was harmful to the country.
especially that tax break.
I have disagreements with that, but that's a conversation that we could have a different time. I'm going to continue on here in just a moment. I just want to see where everybody's at. This is not about Trump or pushing a person. Well, no, of course not. It's not about any one particular president. All right. So back to the little bit of lesson I'm trying to get myself here. All right. So do we have the right to overthrow the government? That's basically what I'm seeing here. Am I wrong? But there's a way to do that, and that is through amendments. It's through voting. You can remove an entire group of people from the government simply by enough people voting for that. Prudence indeed will dictate the government's long established should not. Okay, let me read this again. Prudence indeed will dictate that government's long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. So I think some of the causes right now are not light or transient. And by the way, we have changed houses many times, like swept out the House or swept out the Senate. Or, yes, the Senate. Accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces designed to reduce them under the absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide a new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient suffering of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. And they were tyrannical. To prove this, let's let facts be submitted to a candid world. Okay. He has refused his absent to laws. He has refused his assent to laws and most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance. He has forbidden to allow his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so, suspended. He has utterly neglected to attend to them. All right, I'm just looking down here. Whoa, that's a long bit of information. All right. I'm going to come back over so I can see what's going on. So the king clearly had a problem with the people, and they did not like it. And what happened was the United States of America, as a consequence, they broke away and built something different. And they took things that were good, and they brought cultures, and they brought thoughts, ideas, new ideas. They were willing to break away from a tradition that had been long established for centuries and bred into them in order to see, because they saw something new. They saw something different. Kaylee. Kaylee, I think overthrow might not be the intent, rather discussion, voting, change, the benefits of the majority. All right.
That plays into the whole thought of interpretation.
That's right.
That's an interpretation.
That is interpretation. That is an interpretation. So, and interpretation, though, when things go awry with our federal government, that's why we have the Supreme Court of the United States, is to be able to separate out feelings from facts, ideas from facts, all of those things. Our founding fathers did not draft the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Federalist Papers. We should currently be a part of Canada. If our founding fathers did not draft the Declaration, oh, yes, I see what you're saying. Yes, we would be a part of Canada. Yes. And I'll tell you something before this is all over. Yes, that's called voting. Absolutely, Priscilla. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is the world is a good man to do nothing. Yes, ma'am. FST, okay. But I don't know what she's saying. That's not fact. But King George III was an oligarch who attempted to impose his will and ways upon the citizenry of the newly formed 13 colonies. Yes, absolutely. I understand. What I understand also from reading that I've done over the years is that in the very beginning, when let's just even consider the very first people who came here, I believe it was in
like 45,000 BC?
No, we're talking the settlers from the
colonizers.
The colonizers. The colonizers. When they first came here, they had to send a certain amount back because they had destroyed their own land. They had hunted and they had taken resources from their lands that were no longer available. And so the colonizers had to send a certain amount of everything back to their home countries. That was insanity to me. One of the reasons that so many died is because they were using resources to give to their king that they needed. And the consequence is that more died than should have died. We would still be under the rule of England. What does that look like? What does this look like if it did happen? Yeah,
nothing terrible.
What would it look like?
Free health care for everybody?
No, so you confuse that again. So that's something so going off into a quick rabbit trail here. So there is a certain amount of healthcare that is free. Free is a complete misnomer. Free does not exist. Somebody pays for it. Somebody pays for it. Higher taxes, or everybody so higher taxes, taxation is how things get paid for, and we've had that conversation repeatedly. Free does not exist. So they are also allowed to buy additional insurance. Most of these countries that have nationalized healthcare, the word is nationalized healthcare, they also have an additional insurance you can buy to cover things that are not covered, because guess what? There ain't enough money in the world to cover everything somebody might need potentially when there is nationalized healthcare. I have a form of nationalized healthcare because I have Medicaid. I am in the poverty level. I am disabled, and but my healthcare has been very good. It is very good. I have every single need. There's only been one surgery that they didn't want to give me, and I fought for it. I filled out the paperwork, by the way, and I won that surgery. Yay! I won a surgery. Now
you realize there are some people who believe that you should not be entitled to that health care.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are people who believe that Medicaid is not right, that it's not fair, that it is a burden on the people who pay taxes at this time, because by the nature of being disabled and being on Medicaid, I'm not paying taxes at this time. Yes, I have paid taxes. So I'm just saying that in this whole process that we're discussing right now, so that's the rabbit trail. I'm going to move back onto the main trail because I'm a little bit lost. Canada was under British rule at the same time. They were trying to bring the U.S. settlers under their control, which in turn there would be no separation between U.S. and Canada. Yes, sir. Yes. Historical documents in England showing George III plans to make one giant country of Canada. Oh, I believe that. Oh, can you imagine the resources? See, this is about resources. It's always about resources, by the way. In my opinion, it's always about resources.
That's why we own Alaska.
We saw a good deal in Alaska when we had the opportunity. Canada has its own founding documents and is wholly independent from England. So, I'm not sure how all of that works, and I don't know if Lance is still here. It would be great later on if we could have him come up. And I may need to break this into two separate. Let me look at the time. Two separate. It's 3:32. Wow, we've had a good time, haven't we? Time passes when you're having a good time. If Lance is still in the room, I would love to hear from him. Let me see if this is a good place to stop this particular reading.
It definitely is.
All right, so I'm just going to leave it right there. And then next Thursday, and bring a friend, we'll come back and we'll finish the reading of the Declaration of Independence. But I truly have to say, and this is a sad state of affairs, I was not, to my memory, taught in my 12 years of general education that there was this difference, that we first had the Declaration of Independence, that then we had the Constitution, and then we had the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights being the first 10 of the rights. So those are our absolutes. It's what I understand. So anyways, we'll pick this up next week because I want to share something and talk about this whole idea. And I hate to get lost. I don't want to be this all reading the whole time.
Now, Olita had a good question.
Was it up higher than this?
Down. It's the
most
current one.
All right. Can we talk about
the possibilities of becoming a giant Canada? Now, there is currently, as people may have seen, I'll come up.
Okay, well, before you talk about that and share that, I want to share. So I don't know. I've never seen anybody try to do that, but I can relate that to something else. And if Priscilla Hughes is still in the house, her and I've had a discussion about this because Lucretia Lake, we most certainly learned about all three. I'm not saying we did not learn. Okay, so just to give me a break here, I may have learned about this in high school or some in junior high, but I did not know that there's like a lineage. Let's just call it a lineage. If you look at genealogy, the lineage of the country, started with the first Articles of Confederation not being ratified, and then we had the Constitution. But that the lineage is the Declaration of Independence in 1776, the Constitution in 1778, and the Bill of Rights in 1789. And by the way, a big giant plaque, or no, one of those trophies for everybody, trophy for the first person who can tell us who is the writer of these three founding documents. Who is the basic textualizer of these three documents? FTSR. Canada is separate now, but not back when it was founded or conquered by British rule. Isn't there still a connection, though? Aren't they still connected? Because
of the United Kingdom.
Right, the United Kingdom, which, by the way, I don't even profess to have the slightest idea about. I even know less about that than I know about our own foundation.
Well, you know how there's an umbrella corporation?
Yes.
And then it's like one corporation, and then there's multiple corporations under it?
Yes.
The United Kingdom is the umbrella corporation.
Okay, UK is a United.
The other corporations are England, Canada, the Bahamas, stuff. I actually think the Bahamas is Dutch, but Australia, different. There's 16 Commonwealth.
Whoops. All right. So that's good information, Alex. All right. So here in Oregon, there is a push. 12 of our counties have. They want it. What we want. What I don't. I didn't get into this. I mean, I'm not involved in this group of people, but I'm going to tell you about it. So there is a push to connect the eastern side of the Cascades, for the most part. Could you please look up the map of the joining Idaho to eastern Oregon? There is a map, and it shows all of the. Look that up for me, and then I'll have you post it. So there is a map.
Where?
Oh, you can't do that. I'll do it. So no, it was not Jefferson. Jefferson wasn't even around in this time. And most law, yes, ma'am, I do know that. Well, thank you, Badass. I will love to have you back and get to know you more, truthfully. And your channel, I'll do another live stream where we're just here to make friends, bring some people up on panel, learn about each other's channels, exactly how I met you. I love how that worked. And that's a respectable channel. I'm trying to think of the name of her channel. I loved it, and I'm going to be back there. So thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. Canada's form of government is set up the same as Britain, and they observe all of the same holidays as Britain. There's still a connection. I know there's still, I just wasn't sure, and I was hoping that Lance was still in the house. Because that would be really cool to have someone who is a Canadian talk about it. So here in Oregon, and I need to bring up this map. Give me one moment, please, while I type.
Meanwhile, while you research that, I'll get on stream and explain what I was talking about. Is that there are two current separatist movements in Oregon. One is for Eastern Oregon, and one is for Western Oregon. Now, the one for Western Oregon is going to connect British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California into one country called Cascadia. Now, the other separatist movement is Eastern Oregon wants to move into Idaho and become Greater Idaho instead of Idaho. And so it would essentially split the state of Oregon in half. And people believe that it's the right time now for that split to create those two. For instance, it's going to create a new state, Greater Idaho, but we would be losing a state with Oregon by gaining a new country of Cascadia. So those are the two separatist movements currently in Oregon that are active. And I can't touch much on the Cascadia movement, but I am slightly involved with them. And so I know a little bit about the separatist movements in Oregon.
All right, so I'm going to share, and you could stay if you want, but so I'm going to share the map. So it's called Greater Oregon, and here is the map, or Greater Idaho. Sorry, here is the map of the counties in Oregon. So Idaho has. So I'm going to show you the legend first of all. Where is the legend? There's a legend. Counties that have voted are all in red. Counties that vote next on joining Idaho are in green. Counties that haven't yet voted on Idaho. All right, so look at all of Oregon that has voted to join. So that's not all it takes. So calm down, Priscilla. That's not all it takes.
Because
so
that's such a minute amount of people compared to how many people actually can vote on it in Oregon that it would never pass in the Oregon state legislature.
All right, so that is likely the situation. All right, so the sad part for me is rather than let's look at breaking up Oregon, how about the leadership of Oregon chat openly with these people right here? Because they may be a minority in numbers, but they own a big share of Oregon. And people should be willing to talk to those who are paying let me retract that, because it shouldn't be about money. None of this should be about money. It should be about I love Oregon. My ancestors came here in 1846, was it, Alex?
Yeah.
1846 in wagon trains and helped settle this area. My family's blood is in the ground here. This is where my parents are buried. I have my plot picked out already, me and Richard, in the same pioneer cemetery as my parents are, and many of our ancestors on my grandmother's side. And so it's sad for me to look at this while I disagree with much or most of the political policy of Oregon as far as some of the social things. I actually can see why these people want to have their beliefs and have them have representation, because guess what? We're broken up one of the ways we're broken up is for representation. So we have little areas here and there that represent us. That's why they're called representatives. So unfortunately,
would it be too far to say that if you have over a certain amount of acres, that the state of Oregon should confiscate it over that? And then that way we could take back that land from those people who are trying to steal half of our state?
I think that's why we have contract law, and I believe it's one of the reasons that you own land, and unless it is for very specific reasons, you can't just take someone's property. Otherwise, that's what you call a kingdom with a king who gets to decide what's theirs.
There's a difference in having a king and having a dictator.
That's true.
The King of England is not a dictator
currently. Actually, I'm seeing that a little different these days. Definitely, he's not Queen Elizabeth, that's for sure. All I'm saying is that these people should be heard and not be denigrated for their wishing to have representation. And yes, it is a minority of people. Most of the voters live right up in here right here. Okay, so up in here and right here is where most of the Oregon voters live. But these people matter. Okay, and to say they don't, or to behave as a state as though these people don't matter as much because they vote differently than the majority is exactly anti what civil discourse is about. So let's have our governor and the other leaders of the Senate and the House come chat with these people on an honest level and see what can we do to help you feel more like you're cared about in the state of Oregon.
It comes down to one main thing.
You think it comes down to one main thing?
I really do.
Okay. What do you think it comes down to?
Abortion.
Really?
Yes.
You think so you think that the majority of the people, now granted, these are probably conservative voters, but that's the reason. And I have to really pay attention to time because at 4:00 is following the yellow brick road. And I'm going to do we're going to raid her. We're going to raid her. If Kaylee, if you could find that and drop it in the chat for me, I'd appreciate it. And by the way, it was John Madison who was the writer of these documents. From all of the research I've done, John Madison. I don't want to leave that hanging. All right, I need to go back up here and see what people think. I know what Priscilla thinks, and we've had good conversations. We've had heated, but I understand. I don't want Oregon to become Idaho. Okay, I don't want it to become Idaho, but I'm not represented. I live in in my little niche here in Lane County, Oregon. I don't think there's another area of this country that is any more liberal. Do you, Alex?
Yes.
Where?
San Francisco.
Okay, well,
New York City.
I don't know about New York City. They may have, it's just, there's a certain spirit here. That is
it's actually, I hear from a lot of people who are ethnic and, I am
true.
Gay. I am trans non-binary. I'm married to a man, and I and him still have to worry about going out in places. And that is concerning, considering that Eugene seems like it's so opening and welcoming. And then you have to deal with racism. You have to deal with anti-LGBTQ. And that becomes a big problem when you're trying to follow the pursuit of happiness.
So, and I agree with that. So I've had evolving beliefs, and it isn't just because I have a son who's gay. All right. We're oddly, as liberal as we are here, one of the sweetest women I've ever known in my life is an African-American woman. And she has been said horrible things to here in Eugene, Oregon. Now, if I were present when something like that happened, I would probably end up in jail because I would never tolerate someone being verbally or emotionally harmed or physically harmed for any reason, let alone based on race or their gender identity. Whether I understand all of it or not is kind of beside the point. That's a different conversation, though. All right. But it is a part of this. We all have to know that pursuit of happiness, we're guaranteed. If I were a gay person, would I feel like my happiness is being supported by this country? By part of it, yes, and by part of it, obviously, no, because there's a fight over this. There are some issues related to that I do disagree with. I do not believe people born one gender should be in sports. So, for instance, let's just say the big one is a male, born a male, as performing in female athletics. No, I don't believe that's appropriate. Lots of reasons. No, I just don't. And I don't have time to go into all of those reasons right now.
So you don't think Caitlyn Jenner should be able to compete as a woman?
No, Caitlyn. I don't think Caitlyn Jenner would even want to perform as a woman. She would not go.
If she wanted to, you think that that would not be acceptable?
Yes, I would think that would not be acceptable. Nor should Michael Phelps go to the Olympics again as a female. No, I'm sorry. And even if he took the hormones, his body is built very much like he's a man. He's got a very specific set of shoulders that make doing the fly very much a woman would never be able to compete against him. A female born a female would not be able to compete against a Michael Phelps transing over to a female. Does anybody really argue that?
Yeah.
With a straight face?
Do you see my face?
I'm not going to look at you because I know you, and the reason you will say that is because, and I would disagree with you. But that's okay. We're back. We're still in Idaho. Yes. Okay. John Dickinson, a delegate of Delaware, was the principal writer. The Dickinson drafted the Articles of Confederation named the USA. The Second Continental Congress adopted the A of C November 15th, 1777. Okay. That's interesting information. So John Dickinson, just have to look into that and why everything I've looked at identifies the writer of very specifically these three documents: the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights is John Adams. John Madison. God, did I say Adams? Madison. John Madison. All right. So as far as Oregon, nomadic rat pack. Idaho wants some water frontage for Oceanport really bad. Yes, sir. Troy, that might be at the bottom of it. U.S. Let those who want to become Greater Oregon move to Idaho. They do want to take their land with them, though. Their suitcases and their land that they bought and paid for.
Good luck.
East of Clackamas and east of the Cascades. Yeah, but take it seriously. I'm saying take it seriously I take it seriously in a respectful way, even though I know that will not happen, because it also has to be ratified by the United States overall. It has to be brought to to a vote. I don't remember if it's to our Congress, the U.S. I think it's to the U.S. Congress, which would mean 3/5 of them would have to agree. Do you see that happening? I don't.
Do you think it would stop?
I don't disagree, Kaylee, but if we had become part of George III's grand scheme, we would be in a far worse situation right now, as Canadians are currently experiencing under Trudeau. And I agree. And I think that I don't think he's going to be there too long. They have representatives. They have representatives in Eastern Oregon who are supposed to speak for them. Where are they? That's true. And I don't know how. So the deal is and I know you understand this. So if there's, I don't know how many, oh God, I'm going to say something. I'm not sure how many representatives we have here in Oregon. Let's say we have 40. Patty, Patricia, or Priscilla, would one of you mind looking that up for me? How many state representatives are here in Oregon? But if you have 40 state representatives and 3 of them are from the conservative side of the state, do you see where there's no real, you may have 3 people speaking on your behalf, but against that large of a majority, really? That large of a majority? You don't really have representation. You have representation, but nothing's going to ever help you. You're never going to get the reality is you're probably never going to get the things you believe to be part of the state policy process. Speaking slowly, she said. We have her. Okay, so we already did that. This is retirees from other states, ranchers and transplants. Population density is where the voters can restrict this. Representation for all of Oregon's residents. Yes, unfortunately, there are about 3 pockets in Oregon that restrict the majority of the physical part of Oregon. They call the shots for Malheur County. They call the shots, Lane County and Multnomah County and Marion County call the shots for like I said, Malheur County, Wheeler County. Instead of knee-jerk, angry declaratory statements, or actions, civil discourse should take place. Agree appropriate education from primary school onward would prepare people for responsible discussion. And I don't think they probably even have civics. I think I graduated in 1979, but I did have civics in high school. Representation for all, nomadic rat pack. If this goes through, my statement I saw Idaho. I didn't have to go there. It came to me. Oh, you are a fun party favor, my friend. To whom are you talking to? All right, Kaylee and Priscilla, Lucretia, Lake, they have representation. They aren't their representatives, not speaking. Okay, we've already just kind of discussed that. They are speaking for them, but I think, like I said, it is a David and Goliath situation. Yeah, I don't think it's about abortion either. I really don't. I think there is a whole host of issues. And I guess I would have to, go and look at why that is. And they do have a site, as you see here. I'm going to share the name of that, but I don't think it's about that either, Patty. We're just saying that separatists may be going down the wrong path. And maybe these people have tried talking with the governor. Maybe these people have tried having their representatives talk and share this and say, let's have some, I think there should be some big community gatherings in person and via Zoom. I would go to those. Sorry, we are rating. We are rating Following the Yellow Brick Road. She is a wonderful channel. She is my age or older, and she's out there doing it on her own. And I do really love her channel. Shirley is her name. Founding Father of the United States. Dickinson was known as the penman of the Revolution for his 12 letters from the farmer in Pennsylvania, published individually. So there's so much more to all of this than the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. There is a whole foundation that went with this. So, yeah, wrote the Liberty Song, 1768. Yeah. I know it's not, yeah. However, if we could abort some of our stupid state laws they'd have made in my area, it would please me. Do you mind sharing one single one, Troy? Because you are I think you are an even thinker. I don't see you as somebody who is a let's overthrow the government kind of person. I could be wrong, but you seem to me as an even thinker, even-handed. Lucretia wants me to drop a link, but if I don't hear, it is Following the Yellow Brick Road. Idaho would not be the place for your current life choices. Why is that, Patricia? President Jefferson referred to Dickinson as the first of the advocates for the rights of his country when assailed by Great Britain, calling him one of the great worthies of the Revolution. Thank you. You should be teaching this and talking about this instead of me. Yes, Eugene has become dangerous for anyone of different stereotypes. It's unsafe here, sadly. I will say, there are times I am worried about my son. But he is a big boy, and I believe he can take care of himself. But you know what? People usually, cowards come from behind. And a lot of the stuff that's happened to people of color and of other differences than the minority, it's from behind. It is not face-to-face. And that's what I disdain. See, that's what I disdain, is the cowardliness of people. Nomadic Rat Pack. Any state law that usurps the U.S. Constitution is unlawful and illegal. That's true. So here's one of my thoughts about all these states that have made, like in my state, we have decriminalized drugs. I'm really curious why the federal government has not stepped in. And there's no guarantee they won't, by the way. There's no guarantee they won't. And I'm not talking marijuana, because in reality, I do at this point believe marijuana is not a whole lot different than alcohol. And trust me, I used alcohol like a lunatic. And I smoked weed as a kid, and I've never liked that effect. It is different than alcohol. But anyways, they have, in essence, legalized these drugs. And there's even talk of making safe centers for use, which blows my mind. But anyways, and considering, and again, this is a whole other topic we could spend hours discussing, and it's now 3:59. And I'm not going to step on Shirley's toes, because I really, really appreciate Shirley. Caitlyn Jenner has spoken out numerous times about trans. Yep, that's true. I spoke actually some of the county laws I really disagree with. I'm here in Deschutes County, but the same laws reside in almost all. Yeah, likely. I know you and I've talked about a water issue there. I moved out to the big city to get away from. Yes, allowed me a little spot in the middle of nowhere. I now wish I did live in the middle of nowhere. I thought perhaps a trans ex-girlfriend, not trans himself. He does have that medical condition that causes double muscling, not the same thing. I thought Phelps had a trans ex-girlfriend. I don't know. I really don't. And no, not trans himself. He does have the condition that causes double muscling, not the same thing. So in his case, yeah, no, definitely nothing to do with the, yeah. His case is, if you look at his wingspan, it just would not be possible to compete with him if you were a woman. And he was doing, he was transitioning over. I'm just, the Articles of Confederation proceeded. Yes, sir. Always. And I mentioned the Articles of Confederation in the beginning. And perpetual union. The first, what was considered the first of the, if you will, of a constitution was, it sounds to me from all the reading I've done, it would be the Articles of Confederation and perpetual union. I have never heard of the phrase, the perpetual union. He's got some county laws that have to do with water and timing and a bunch of those kind of things. But he's welcome to share any county ones. Priscilla, use of your own property. Example, my friend got divorced and I was not allowed to let him live in a trailer over 14 days in my driveway in the middle of the forest, and it was kept clean. Okay. You have the same problem I have, except, so I live, you know where I live, Troy, you've been here. I had a trailer, a 19-foot trailer parked on the side of my house several years ago. My nephew, his wife, and a couple dogs were living in there for a while. They were going to stay there in transition for a bit. Our neighbor to my west didn't like it. I guarantee it was him. And it was clean. No reason for it. It was behind a gate, by the way, behind a gate, kind of like being in the middle of the forest, by the way, and called the city or the county. And I don't remember which came out, because I live on a road where there is city and county. There are people have opted in to the city to get city services. My father chose to stay in the county. So the guy did the knock on the door. He spoke with me and explained, I've got a complaint that someone may be staying in the trailer that is not allowed in the county. If I were a house over in the city who's paying city taxes, it would have been fine, but not in the county. In the house that I live in, that's still part of the county. It's called money, unfortunately, and my father just didn't want to. He didn't see a need for it. Personally, I don't know. I would have to look more. I've looked at what would we get extra? We would get extra the city library, some parks facilities that are part of the city, you know. All right, so I'm going to take that down. Just go through this before we end here. The city and the county both took their turns coming in and threatening me with $2,000 per day fines for helping a friend out in the time of crisis on property I own and pay taxes on. And I agree, Troy. There are states, okay, for instance, look where Camper Van Kevin lives in Concho, Arizona. Just saying. I think he lives in a perfect county, personally. He can do, for the most part, what he wants with his property. He's got, what, two or three tiny houses on it now. He's got his RV that's parked there. His friends that's parked there a good amount of time. Many friends who come there and stay for weeks, days, months. His house, you know, I'm just saying. As far as trans athletes competing in sports, it depends on the age. They started taking hormone suppressant meds before the muscle developed, then they should be able to compete with the girls. Okay. And I know that that is a response of many people. I understand the frustration that should be happening. It's your property. Yeah. Charlie Grace. That they had old school campgrounds back in the colony days. Yes, they did. And I so badly want to go see those old school campgrounds someday. 60 reps for Oregon. Well, thank you, non-Oregonian. Thank you. 60 reps. And I'll bet you that a quarter of them are not conservative representatives. How many Republicans and how many Democrats? I mean, really, I'm going to do a little more research on that because it is an interest to me of what's happening in this, because I never expected it to get this far. Personally, I did not expect so many counties to participate. Looks like Oregon has 60 members of the House. I love Oregon. It's beautiful, and I'm wanting to leave the state and find a better county in a different state that allows a little more freedom for property you own. And that's a sad state of affairs. Yes, I understand that. It should be my vote also. I would have to vote against it. In fact, it doesn't. Doesn't this current topic have to do with the desire for electoral college? How we install the president of this great country. So I'm a pro-electoral college person. I came to understand why that was, though. I can't explain it here today, but electoral college is definitely something we will look at, because there's such a gripe about the electoral college. Seriously, and I understand why it's not understood. I really had to look at it and I looked at it from several collegiate people that taught it. There's like three or four, and they were able to explain. And I agree with I prefer the electoral college over one vote, one person, because that's how you get the minority to have a voice. So there is a voice. That's one place where there is a minority voice heard. What I don't like is that in some states, counties can have different ways of, states can have a different way of divvying up their vote, their electoral college vote. I have some issues with that, but overall, I prefer it. Bottom line is, this is a blue state. If I moved to Texas, I wouldn't try to take part of Texas. You know what? There are counties in Texas, though, that have changed. Why not? It reflects in that county, in those counties, new population. Are we supposed to say the only people who should move here are conservative or liberals? I mean, was that an intent of this country's founders? Do you think that the country's founders said, when they came up with all this, and then there was parties. Do you really believe they said, we only want conservatives or we only want liberals? I don't personally think that was how it was intended. As for myself being gay, we live so far out in the woods, we just walk around with a gun on our hip. Nobody will harass myself or my husband. I can't get away with that in Eugene. Brent does it. Alex, he even has nails. He carries a Gucci purse, and it's a real Gucci. And I worry when he leaves the house to go to the store, and I probably always will. Yep. She is live. Priscilla Hughes is teetering towards a possible red state. We have had close votes we had very close vote on the last two governors. Very close vote. That, Priscilla, really close. Closer than I thought. Again, I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? I use my common sense. I try to get everybody a fair shake, even when they don't deserve it in my eyes, and I am a prepper. And I have stood up for gay rights all my life. So I have actually stood up for gay rights too. I have to be honest. Like if there was like one count, okay, we've already talked about the county policy. So it was just a policy thing. So my belief about gay marriage used to be that if gay people wanted to get married in a civil ceremony, for some reason, okay, this is where I have evolved. And in part, my son, the conversations with him, watching him in his life, other people. I mean, I know many gay people, all right? I know many gay people. And it was, watching their lives. So why should a gay couple who want to have a union? Yes, we go back to the whole creator thing, but the word creator, the word creator is in our Declaration of Independence, and so I have come to believe if I am not going to waste my time not allowing them to have the same legal rights as me as a heterosexual married person. I mean, really, I shouldn't let my son and his husband do taxes together. Taxes are paid the same. You know what I'm saying? They pay them just the same as a married heterosexual couple. So, all right, there's that. It's the rights of, on this property that I live, that was my mother and father's, is my mother and father's. It was the right of, I can't think of it, and I was a realtor. It automatically became my father's when my mother passed. And although a gay couple could will each other the property, I guess, or, do a advance directive for medical, there are ways around some of the barriers, but it's ridiculous. You should not have to go through those hoops, is what I'm saying. I've come to believe that I don't need to require a gay person to jump through extra hoops for those legal rights. And so, yeah. It's teetering towards Oregon. I would care less as long as my freedoms aren't trampled on. Exactly. Look up how LGBTQ has been treated. The truth is their lives are threatened in Idaho more so than Oregon. I don't know. I do know I did a video, all of the month of December. Well, it's a different topic, but anyways, I don't know. What are the statistics? I'd have to look at statistics. That's a weird word, statistics. And I've got to wrap this up. The people who wish to secede from Oregon want to do the lack of representation by those in charge in Salem. 100%. That's, I think everybody gets it that here now. It is about that. if you do go over to, Alfonso's here still. Lucretia, Idaho has been exploding drug issue, and they didn't decriminalize drugs, and the revolving jailhouse door wasn't working. I believe it's exploding everywhere. I do believe, as I've said, I have a hard time understanding how people couldn't. So if it's legal, you must know if drugs are legal in Oregon, that is also going to bring more users into a place where they know they're going to be in no trouble if they even get caught with heroin, methamphetamine, LSD, all of the drugs, the party drugs. You can have a certain, I'm telling you, there are likely more people here because of that. That also puts a strain on our social services because, we need more drug beds. We need more of everything as a result of having more people who are not socially able to be a part of society, and they need the services instead. Because I don't know of a user of other than marijuana. Users, 95% of the drug users of things other than marijuana and alcohol that can maintain life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, they're using themselves to the point of death, at least in Oregon. That I know has risen since the implementation of this. Now, I'm steadfastly against it. But I know you're steadfastly supported, and that's okay. You and I know you're a good person. I know what kind of character you have. I know that you help people. I know that you love your family and your state and your country, as do I. We just wholeheartedly disagree about the outcome issue related to the legalizing of drugs. I know Colorado has recently passed an accessible voting law, which enables those who are blind or visually impaired to vote independently and electronically online. Now, that's interesting. I didn't know that. You should have every possible ability to vote, no matter how you have to vote, as long as it's your vote and it's safe. And we do here in Oregon, we vote by mail. And by the way, I can check and see if my vote was counted. So I don't think we have ran into really many problems in Oregon with voter issues. There's always going to be some, but to a large degree, no, because of voting by mail. But I go put mine in the drop box. I don't trust the mail. I really don't. It goes right to the elections division. Really have to do my research, to be honest, but I would love to carry a conversation with you separate from my sister's live stream here. Well, go check out his Facebook page and drop your link and go check out his Facebook page. And you guys can connect up about that. Hello, Fairy Dust, Sweep the Wild Winds. Thank you. It's been a long discussion, but I think it's been a good discussion. We only got halfway through the Declaration of Independence. I like to talk, but I really don't want to sit here and just read. We had to stop and talk about stuff. And there is a link for Shirley's Following the Yellow Brick Road. Please tell her I sent you if you go over there. I am trying to wrap up, I promise. Don't even get me started on water. They are forcing city services down our throats. I purchased my property because I was I was not on city services. In this will cost me up to $20,000 out of my pocket. Yeah. And you should not be you bought it a certain way. If you don't want to upgrade it, not that that's necessarily an upgrade, by the way, you should not be forced into it. That's where I'm against doing what the city, the county, the country, doing what they want with property. Far more overall constitutional rights in Idaho than Oregon. Idaho abides by the Constitution far greater than those in charge in Salem. So you and I, maybe we need to do an on-screen conversation about that. I'd like to do that because about that very specific topic. You know, if you're interested, just let me know and we'll schedule it. I would love that I really would love that conversation. Glad to hear that Alphonsus. Yep, I am glad too. I want to see people be able to vote. Idaho is more constitutional because they are in line with your ideology. What is Oregon doing that is unconstitutional? So you and I could have a conversation about this on the Oregon side, Priscilla. I know you don't want to be on screen, which is ridiculous. She's beautiful. My little sister is a very beautiful woman, but she doesn't like her face to be out there like this. And I don't, necessarily blame her. I might have made a mistake here, but we could have a conversation. Hear each other's side. City sewer. Troy, are you on city sewer? I think not. I don't think he is. Idaho is home to a huge population. Oh, yay. Okay, and I suspect there's a lot of that. There is likely a lot of that in Oregon, because when you look at the history of Oregon, we had a huge clan. We've talked about that a lot. We had a huge clan issue here in Oregon, and I think Oregon was one of the last states to allow people of color to be able to buy land in Oregon. In Oregon, yeah. Troy and Christian, yeah. Usually shitty people in the world. Yes, there are some really not fun people in the world everywhere. And okay, I'm leaving, going to my grandson's concert. Okay, whichever grandson that is, tell him to, oh, I know which one it is. Tell him I'll be listening once you send that to the family page. Thank you for staying, Priscilla. I appreciate it. I really do. And I would like to talk to you about a conversation. Any infringement on the U.S. Constitution is an infringement against its citizenry. A prime example is the Second Amendment. And I agree with you. Yes. And one of the conversations, gosh, we could have, and, we could have with many different people is, well, yes. And I'm going to get my concealed carry permit, and I'm picking up my new self-protection tool as soon as this live stream is over. I'm getting in my car and driving to get it. My background check passed again. I had one with when I got my first one 3 years ago and 2 years ago, whatever it was, and I had to have another one. So, yes, and I agree. However, there's issues. Okay, Lucretia, got some homework. We'll think about that here. Democrat 35, Republican. Oh, it's closer than I thought. I have to do some research on this. It is my state after all. Yeah, one small town. And by the way, I watched a documentary that was not pro or con against the what happened in Idaho so many years ago. And never mind. It's a good documentary to watch, by the way. Lucretia, if you want to call me after the show, I'll explain to you where I have been looking and why I want. Oh, okay. Can't call you. I don't even know that I can call you today. I'll try to call you tonight, Troy. I'm going to pick up my new self-protection tool, and then I got to come home and figure out what to make Richard and I for dinner. Oregon reps are 2/3 Democrats, 1/3 Republicans. Okay. Yes, that kind of makes sense there. I would have thought it's even more. Yes, it could become a swayed because of the Electoral College votes. As far as the president, that's the only thing, to my knowledge, we do Electoral College voting on. I would worry that someone would knock him over the head for the Gucci. Honestly, Brent, it's a Gucci you carry, right?
No, it's Valentino.
Valentino, even worse. I agree, Patty.
When people have a Coach bag, I laugh inside, knowing that my Valentino bag that doesn't have the well-known Coach signal, doesn't have Valentino written on it, but theirs has Coach. It's because Coach is for people who fly in Coach.
Oh no.
That
is mine a Coach? Coach is for people who fly Coach. I love my son. I have family and very close friends, including my very best friend who became my niece, who became my niece by marriage at one time. But my question is, what's wrong with conservatives, different from Republicans? Okay, so what's wrong with? So I don't think there's any difference. Okay, I mean, technically speaking, conservatives are Republicans. Technically speaking, liberals are Democrats. But as you know, there are, for instance, I believe it's South Carolina. There was in the state of South Carolina, somebody wants to or has proposed a bill that would make having an abortion a potential death penalty, and that there would be murder. There would be no exceptions. So mom is dying because the baby's died inside of her for whatever reason, and she can't have the baby removed. So I'm seriously, that is so far to the far right, conservative. I don't even know if I should call them Republicans. What kind of person, and this is where I do get judgmental, what kind of person really believes that to be right? That there's no exception to the rule, and that, by the way, it's murder. So that you get charged with murder and could have the death penalty. That is a Republican conservative by today's standards. I'm not that Republican conservative. I'm very much in the middle. There's certain things that I'm concerned about and that I don't believe, and yet, and one of the things that puts me more on the conservative side is the whole concern about paying for things. Finding a legitimate way to pay for things. For instance, the state of Oregon passed a constitutional amendment, pretty sure it was a constitutional amendment, this last vote, to make health care a right in the state of Oregon. How do they plan? There isn't a plan to pay for it that I could see. I didn't vote for it because there was no plan to pay for it. It's not that I don't believe, and I believe I didn't vote for it. I don't believe in voting for something that's going to burden the people without a plan to pay for it. And then say on the back end, oh, by the way, we're going to need your money to pay for this. No, I believe a bill should be fully theorized, not just theorized, but then brought to the table with all the writing. There's nothing hidden. We know it's going to cost this, and this, and that we're no longer going to, because Oregon has a list of, like every state, has a list of illnesses and injury kind of things, an entire giant list, like I don't know how long. And there's a cutoff where Medicaid pays for things. And in essence, it would be making Medicaid a Medicaid-like insurance for all of Oregon available. So it would make insurance available, or it'd make coverage automatically. You're an Oregonian, you get coverage. And the only way you could do that is like by a government-centered insurance like Medicaid or Medicare. Okay, something like that. But they didn't propose how they're going to pay for it. And so that's why I wouldn't vote for something. It's not that I don't believe people don't deserve health care. I do believe health care should be a right. But policy, learning about policy, you don't propose policy that doesn't have all of the addendums ready for people to read. Creator, gay people should be able to love, have children, live where they want, to have a career, any field of work. Yes. I would know the name of the town. It is a very well-known town, and I actually think that's where, and I could be wrong, that Bruce Willis and his ex-wife had their house built or bought or whatever. Not to say that they are neo-Nazis. I love both of them. I don't think they're part of that, but no. Oregon, its population is just 4 million, appears to have a disproportionate number of hate-based organization within its borders. That may be true. I don't necessarily, I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't doubt that. Yes, Portland is horrible. Portland's dying, in my estimation. The Second Amendment was ratified in 1791. Population was sparse. Weapons were very different, ideology different. I believe in the Second Amendment, but laws need to address the people and weapons of today. So did you know there, I didn't know this, but my nephew, William, brought it to my attention that there was a fully automatic weapon back in that time. It was out of England. I can't remember the name of it, but I looked it up. I saw it. I saw what it did. And basically, yes, shockingly, it was never made on a large scale because it could not, it was too expensive to make in the day, back in the day. That's true. That's true. There would not be somebody selling you the drugs if not for the user. That's right. It's kind of like how you get rid of rats. You get rid of what they eat. That's my experience with my pantry. I don't think it's is it Coeur d'Alene? I thought it was a smaller town than Coeur d'Alene. People today are different, thinking from back in 1791. Yes, very different. There's been a large number of voting issues involving blind and visually impaired before the voting accessibility law was passed. I have no doubt about that. I can't imagine what it was like for people who had any other abilities, you know, whether it be lacking sight, lacking mobility. Like for myself, I have a mobility disability because of nerve damage to my lower body. And I will tell you, if I had to go stand somewhere, I couldn't stand. I mean, I now have a walker, but back when my parents used to go vote at the grade school that's 1 block away from me, I was a little girl. I remember going with them, and people were just standing around. I am banned from the FBI for life. I am banned from the FBI for life.
No, from Facebook.
Facebook. I'm like, Facebook. I saw FBI, and I'm like, what did you do to the FBI? From Facebook for life.
You were leaving at 4 because of the raid. It's 4.
Dang it. All right. Coeur d'Alene has lived there. That's all right. I've heard Boise is very much like Eugene. All right. So, all right. I want to go over to Shirley's house. So one more time, could we drop her link? And I'm not going to read any more. I really appreciate those of you who stayed. I mean, it's stayed at about 10. I know there will be more who see this later. It's kind of how it's worked. And we'll break this up. I'm sorry. We'll finish the my brain is now smushy mush. The Declaration of Independence next Thursday. In between now and then, we might do something else. And Sunday is going to be a fun day from now on. Sunday, fun day. I know. AR does not mean assault rifle. Armalite rifle, not assault rifle. Yes. And by the way, does anybody remember the ban on weapons back in the 90s? Raise your hand if you do not remember that. I shouldn't have asked the question because I want to go. But look that up, because we're gonna have a conversation about this. And I'm going to have both sides talking about it, not at the same time. It won't work. I don't think it will work here on this platform with me. Okay. So, but yes, I think he's just giving him, well, I don't know. Maybe just information, Kaylee. And the only time that is a problem is when the minority, okay, when you consider, Patricia, how many people, millions of people who own guns in this country, and by nature of, okay, this is the nature of the people who have been killed, especially the children, is unconscionable. Okay, the people who've killed children, especially in schools, it's unbearable to think about what they went through. And that's where people get caught up in this, and myself at times as well, because I have a man who was a child, and I can tell you, if somebody harmed my child, it would have been a mistake. Well, a mistake if I'd have known at the time. Okay, so anyways, however, it is a minority of people, a handful, if you will, that have done that kind of harm, and tens of millions of people should not suffer because of that. It's a right. Maybe if it had never been declared a right, an unalienable right, then maybe it wouldn't be such a battle, but it was. Now, it's not to say I don't think there aren't some good things to do, because I think there are some non-lethal, meaning lethal to the carrier of a weapon, right, to their right. I think there are some things that are not necessarily bad ideas. But again, that's another conversation. And I'm grateful that we got through what we got through. My clear statement is guns kill people as equally as spoons made Rosie O'Donnell fat. And that is my belief as well. Or a car ran down. Seriously, it's the same thing as if I get in my car, I see a group of protesters of whatever type that's opposite me, and I make a decision to take my car and harm them with it. Okay, it's the same thing. Same thing. Opportunity. Patty, my gun would do the same thing. My weapons, and the one I'm getting today, I mean, it can do the same thing. Semi-automatic is semi-automatic. That's where we need to get some, you are a gun woman. You've shot antelope, deer. You were in a hunting family, so what a semi-automatic can do. So I think that I'd like the Mossberg shotgun that is a semi-automatic shotgun. I'd like that. I don't have $2,000 to go spend on it. I'll never have one, likely, unless someone, wills it to me. But I'll never have that. But then, just because, it's also tactical shotgun, I don't need a tactical shotgun. I'm never going to be in the Marines. I gave up my opportunity to be in the Navy. So, tried limiting bullet sales. It didn't work. It just created panic for the people that wanted them and drove prices up. Yes. Kaylee, gun laws seek to control the availability and ownership. So you're someone who could have a very calm conversation with about some reasonable things. No one ever said guns kill people. Laws actually apply to people. Gun laws restricting some weapons. So here is, oh God, I'm just going to say this one last thing. So I don't remember what state it was, has stopped. So here in Oregon and most states, if I assault Richard and he wants to get a restraining order against me, he can. Fairly easy. All he has to do, for the most part, at least in Oregon, and I don't know about other states, how much fact you have to bring in. I've done a short internship at Lane County Court where they did that. So I know in Lane County, it's not a lot of fact, not a lot of proof. Let me rephrase that. Not a lot of proof has to be. There's no proof. You can really have your statements be your proof. And if the judge believes you, you can get a restraining order. In Oregon, you can't, then your gun rights get removed from you automatically. And you can't have your guns. That's not even due process. And you get your right, your Second Amendment, confiscated. You're simply based on accusation, your right to a weapon is confiscated based on my right, based on Richard's accusation that I abused him. That's something that I think reasonable people can have a conversation about. Do we really think? And it made me think, oh my gosh, because realistically, there are people who get restraining orders for reasons other than they know they're not necessarily in real jeopardy. I've known those people. Okay. So, anyways, that is a long conversation. Oh, it's a horror. Oops, I did it again. It's about our attitude toward the death of children or people sitting in church. I don't know. I think the country has very much wept at depth over it. Truthfully, I don't know anybody who was not grief-stricken when Sandy Hook happened. I mean, gut-wrenchingly grief-stricken. Whoops, fairy dust. I like guns to protect me from people who want to destroy me, like spoons and eating soup, cereal, and ice cream. Don't control that. Nope. Guns in the hands of our forefathers kept the invaders away from our shores. What was changed also much that they don't want anymore. It scares me to think about it. Yep. Shall not be infringed. Any type of restriction on any weapon or weapon accessory is an infringement that is not acceptable, period. So, and I'll say I'm not sure I completely agree with that, but in essence, in spirit, I do agree with that. I don't believe we need automatic weapons in our society. I really don't. So, and I know that those are only belong to people with certain licenses, very limited license. Okay. I'm not for that. Right. Gun control is not about the guns. It's about control. The anti-gunners have admitted it. And I agree with you. There is a group of the anti-gunners, as you say, who it is more, they don't like guns. They just don't see a necessity. They don't like them, and they're afraid of them, in my opinion. That's an opinion, and I'll admit that. I think they're afraid of guns. There's no gun I'm afraid of. It can't hurt me unless someone with ill will towards me picks it up, points it at me, and does something. That's the way it works. I am an advocate of revision of the Second Amendment. Someone said our Constitution is evolving. I would agree, hence addressing the Second Amendment. I have questions about how a citizen, that was where it stopped. All right, FTR, well said. Alita Himmerly. Second Amendment has so many ways of looking at it. Yes, ma'am, it does. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope that you will go over, and I'm going to go back up here and see if I can just scroll back up and find Shirley's. Just go for a few minutes if you can. Tell her I sent you, and I'm going to run over there for the last few minutes, and then I'm going to hit the road because the place I got to go to is in Springfield, and they're open till 6, and I'll be able to get there. All right, I don't see the link, but it's following the Yellow Brick Road. Shirley Hatton, she is a real-life senior citizen, female nomad, wonderful lady. I don't think anybody in here is for the murder or the slaughter of little children. I don't. I'm not. I'm really not. One of the things I think is that the schools need to be, especially grade schools. There's nobody who should be able to walk into a grade school without going through a center section where you go through. If I were in charge, grade schools and junior highs, you would go through one door, everybody. Now, not to say there wouldn't be other doors, but you would go through one door, and there would be a vestibule, and there would be bulletproof glass on entry doors and entry doors into the main building. And you would go through a metal detector with an armed guard. I'm sorry, that's how I believe it should be. I wish it weren't that way, but our society has evolved. And it's not the guns that have evolved. It's there's something wrong with society. There is a darkness at the core of a niche of people who mean ill will towards all kinds of people, including helpless children. So since we know that, it's our job to provide, at least for now, ways to make it harder for the crazies and the ill and the sheer sociopath, psychopath criminal. And I believe that is one way. Also, there's a school in Indiana that has done some excellent things with respect to the doors, literally the doors into the classrooms. And I'm Indiana. So, and yes, this is all opinion. And I wish, yeah. All right. So please stop listening to me. Grab that link, go over, and please tell Shirley Hatton Lucretia says hi. All right, I'm headed over there. I will see you sooner than next Thursday, likely. And I love you guys, and I appreciate you. And stay safe, stay healthy, and find a way to make your joy happen, because that's the only way it's going to happen. All right, guys, have a good day.